Hello, so today we're looking at the one and only Lady Macbeth. I'm going to be looking particularly at whether she conforms to the traditional Jacobean stereotypes of a woman or not. So, as normal, I'm going to go through the 4 key points that I'm going to make about Lady Macbeth and what I would include in my analysis of them. Throughout my analysis, I've colour coded the points I've made so that you can see where they match the mark scheme. So, how does Shakespeare present Lady Macbeth as a traditional Jacobean woman? So, Shakespeare shows the danger of women stepping out of their social sphere. By social sphere, I mean there's this place in society that women should be in, which ideally and in the Jacobean times would be a more limited sphere where they should be restricted with a limited education, restricted to home activities, and not a part of society, not a part of politics, certainly not a part of violence. So Lady Macbeth believed she could be more than that. She didn't want to be restricted in that way, but she lacked the mental toughness to resist her guilt and shame. Now, he also shows, though, the conflict in duty and restrictions. She's acting out of love here, and she's sacrificing everything, her dignity, her self-respect, her position in society for Macbeth, yet that is what destroyed her. So what was she meant to do? Should she have stayed restricted, or should she, and therefore not been a loving wife and done what she did to support him, or should she have gone above and beyond, even though it's cost her her life? He shows the impossibility of being a woman in Jacobean Britain. So, the 4 points I'm going to make about Lady Macbeth being a traditional Jacobean woman, I simply have to talk about the fact that she's regarded as an equal, unlike Jacobean expectations at the start, and this is key for when Macbeth refers to her as my dearest partner of greatness. However, she invites the supernatural, which is laughable and dangerous, and she refuses her feminine limits. When this is clear when she says, "Come you spirits, unsex me here." We then see how she uses her adopted strength from being unsexed to manipulate Macbeth into greatness. This shows the untraditional balance in the relationship, for surely she should be the one who's inferior and subordinate to the male. And I've got my hands are of your colour, but ashamed to wear a heart so white as evidence of her manipulation. However, finally, this guilt and the shame catches up with her by the end, showing the danger of her choices as a woman. Now, this is shown through the line, "Out damn spot," which I know is a very clear, obvious line, but there's so much to say about it, you'd be a fool not to get it into your essays. So, starting off, first things first, paragraph 1, dearest partner of greatness. So, Macbeth regards Lady Macbeth as his equal, unlike Jacobean expectations of marriage. Now, this line here suggests that mutual power has led them to glory because they see their relationship as greatness. They think they've achieved greatness because of the way they can bounce off each other and rely on each other. Now, his faith and dependence in her is reflected through his letter. The fact that the first thing he does when the witches say he's going to become king is write a letter to his wife, showing how much he depends on her knowledge and her wisdom and her guidance. Now, the adjective here, dearest, shows it's a loving relationship. It's not just a marital power or reputational enhancement like a lot of Jacobean marriages, and especially at the high end of society like these two are, but actually they really, really do care about each other. Now, this is key because they make some really drastic decisions now, like killing the king, like putting faith in his wife when she's telling him to kill the king, like returning the daggers, and so on and so forth. But all of these actions are motivated by love for each other. Lady Macbeth wants to do it out of love for her husband, to help her husband, and Macbeth complies because he trusts her and loves her back. Now, this is a symbolic in terms of her decline in their influence. Here she's a dearest partner of greatness, however by the middle of the play she's just become dearest truck, reflecting how she slips back into a more traditional role of a Jacobean wife, irrelevant and in the background, as Macbeth's power takes over and he becomes more warped in his understanding and thoughts of what really is important to him. So when she receives this letter, she cracks it open, she reads that Macbeth can become king, and then she looks to the sky and says, "Come you spirits, unsex me here." So she's got an untraditional comfort with the supernatural, asking the spirits into her life. That shouldn't really be happening in Jacobean Britain. But this is key because it matches her husband. He was really keen for the witches to stay when he first met them. He said, "I wish they had stayed." So this shows how they are both like-minded and shows how they are destined to be together and meant to be together because they both think and operate in exactly the same way. Now, women should be protected from evil and violence in Jacobean Britain, but she invites it. She's happy for it to be a part of her life, showing her desire to be more and above what she is limited to be. Now, the verb unsexed is really key. She desires freedom from the feminine restrictions. She wants to be unsexed from her feminine restrictions. So she wants comfort with violence. She wants the freedom to influence society. But it's really key that she doesn't say make me a man. She says unsexed. So she also refuses the male sphere of responsibility and honour, because that's what a man should be, responsible and honourable. She doesn't want that because she needs her own rule, which is between both these spheres, to be able to influence and support Macbeth to be the man that she believes he could be. Now, this is quite ironic. She's inviting the evil into her life, but she's doing it as a misguided act of love. The reason why I say that is because she's doing it to support her husband because she loves him, but it's misguided because she has no understanding at this point of the consequence of those actions and the damage it's going to do to herself, her relationship, her country, and her husband. So, paragraph 3, my hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white, which is what Lady Macbeth says to Macbeth when he returns back from killing Duncan with the daggers in his hand, and he kicks up a fuss about returning the daggers back. So she's using her adopted strength to manipulate Macbeth into greatness. She is being mean to him, she is mocking him, she is being horrible to him, but she's doing it to make sure that he murders success so that he can go on to become a king. Now, Jacobean women should not be associating themselves with violence and death. That's the masculine role. However, Lady Macbeth, because she's not a traditional Jacobean woman at this stage, chooses to get involved in the violence, get involved in the murder in order to support her husband as an act of love. Now, the adjective here, white, connotes purity. So that unlike everybody else in society who is praising him and promoting Macbeth for his decency, his integrity, she sees that as a weakness. Now, that's quite an untraditional approach because she should be loyal to her husband, she should have faith in her husband, she should find the strength and the good in her husband, but she mocks him and criticises him. Now, this is also quite ironic because she's destroyed his respect, his dignity and his character in setting him up for this murder, but she's doing this to help and support him, to make him be better than what he currently is. Now, my final paragraph is going to be this one, out damn Spot, because this completes the demise of Lady Macbeth. So Shakespeare is showing how women lack the mental toughness and emotional numbness to be able to create death without consequence. She's made these decisions like being unsexed and come you spirits and manipulate her husband because she tried to help him, but she's not cold and cruel enough in her heart to be able to deal with the consequences of that, and it crushes her. Now, the key thing about this quote is the key non-language choices that come around it. So first of all, when she says that in this scene, she's alone from her husband, so she's becoming irrelevant to Macbeth. She's holding a candle, which symbolises hope and guidance because it's a little light. She now needs that hope and guidance, but that candle is small and limited. She can't have that hope and guidance anymore. And she's also doing it while she's washing her hands, which symbolises her desire to be pure and clean of guilt again, just like a traditional Jacobean woman is and she was. However, there is still language analysis as well we can get out of this quote. So first of all, we've got the symbolism of Spot. Now, spots are permanent, reflecting how she can't remove her guilt and her shame, that her role in the demise of Macbeth can't be taken away. Spots are still quite small though, reflecting her small role in Macbeth's demise along with the supernatural and his own ambition, but she still can't accept it because she's too decent and too honest a person. Now, the spot is also a spot of blood, so this shows how she feels responsible for the deaths that have been completed by Macbeth, and this reflects Jacobean women's unsuitability for involvement in violence. Now, this is quite key, that we can't just bash women here. We can't just go into our exam and say, oh, women are weak, women are no good, because that's just simply not the case. She's a powerhouse of a woman and we need to respect her as so. Now, I believe that Macbeth is showing that it's not just Lady Macbeth who could not cope with stepping out of her sphere, nor could Macbeth when he aspired to be more than just his role in the great chain of being. He was just a soldier, he was just a thane, he wanted to be more, he wanted to step out of his sphere, and look what happened to him, it ruined him. So Shakespeare is more likely showing us the wider consequences of not stepping out of society's limits. If we stay in the place that we are meant to be, we cause far less impact on society, but we're also in a safer, more limited space for us too. Now, they're giving you loads and loads of stuff on that quote. The worst thing you can do is take one thing and just put it in and move on. The reason why this quote is so good is because there's so much to say about it. Layer out your interpretations, give your multiple ideas, give your alternative views, and really explore the complete demise of Lady Macbeth.